Hi, I'm Stephanie J. Block.
And I'm Mary Lee Fairbanks.
Welcome to Season 3 of Stages Podcast,
where we continue to bring creation and connection to center stage.
Hi, all. So for this episode, we get to speak with Micaela Diamond, who opens up her spirit and her soul. She does speak about some complicated relationships with food. It's a nice chunk of our interview. So if you don't have the headspace and the heart space to listen to that now, please go ahead and wait until you're ready. If not, please enjoy Micaela Diamond.
Wait, I have to ask, is your mother from Boston?
Yes.
I knew it. I heard that accent and I was like, that woman's a Boston lady.
It's thick, Mary Lee.
Oh, I heard it. She said not. And I was like, not. She's from Boston. I want to meet her.
N-A-W-T. Not.
Yeah, it's exactly. Not like that. So funny.
She is an old soul with a new style who wears black and speaks her mind. So powerful, she leaves her prints on everyone she touches because she is both a savage and a sweetheart. That's by S. McNutt. And I use poetry because our guest today truly is poetry. I remember vividly growing up singing and having people always comment, she's so excellent for her age. And I took a bit of offense to the, in quotes, for her age part, because I just wanted to be excellent. Later in my life and in my life experiences, I would witness excellent talent, and then my inner voice would whisper, for their age. But then there is Micaela, and she was comfortable in her skin. She was open for whatever came her way, from whomever it came from. She was prepared, and she was playful. And she is special, so very, very special. Anyone lucky enough to watch her work or create or embody or interpret or listen to her sing, they understand that she's a star, like a Barbara, like a Liza, and soon there will be like a Micaela on everyone's lips. She's family to me. Vivi calls her sister. I call her remarkable. Please welcome to the podcast, Micaela Diamond. Micaela Diamond to stage, please. Micaela, please come to stage.
Oh my God, Steph.
It's real. It's truth. It's truth, little mama. So special. I want to dive in right away. Tell me what you were doing when you were 13. What did your life look like when you were 13 years old?
Oh my gosh, my life had just been turned upside down.
Oh.
I actually moved to New York the year before. I think to this day, it might have been the year I was most depressed in my life, not to jump right in. But yeah, I remember I went to middle school at 1 year at this place called Wagner. And then the next year at PPAS, which was a kind of more of the musical theater school. And my mom and I had just moved, just us, and we lived in this tiny 2-bedroom with roommates because we kind of couldn't afford to live alone at the time and thought that could be a way to save some money. And we lived on Roosevelt Island, which if you're a New Yorker, you know that that's kind of this weird sacred ground. It's in the middle of the Manhattan Island and the Queens Island. And you can only take either a tram to get there, which goes over the water, or the F train. And that's the only train that stops there. And so it kind of felt fairy tale-y, like, why are we living on this island? It was so strange. And I remember when my mom was like, should we just move to New York? Because I had done a show the summer before and kind of loved it and was auditioning a lot and we were traveling. And I was like, yes, let's go, let's go. And then once we got here, I hated it. And she was unemployed and I didn't want to audition anymore. So we had lifted up our lives and got here. And then I didn't want to do any of the things that we moved here to do. And I think back to this year and really feel so grateful for my mom because she was just like, it's fine. don't audition. Like she did not care at all. She was like, don't do it. No worries. She was unemployed for a year, found a job she actually liked. She's still with that job today.
Wow.
But that was such a transitional year for me. And,
but there was no blame. There was no resentment.
No,
there was no, Micaela, are you kidding me? We just did all of this, uprooted our lives for what?
No. And that was the start of a very normal pattern between my mom and I, in which, you know, things in my life would come. For instance, like I got a full ride to Carnegie Mellon. That could have changed our lives, not having to pay for college, doing the thing I wanted to do at the top school in the country. And then booked CHER, just a lab, not the contract, like only 1 month I was not going to go to school for. And she was like, perfect, amazing. Like, I can't wait for you to still live with me and not leave. There's always just been this like, yes, and what's next? And it didn't matter. And it was okay. And it was okay that I was sad. And it got better once I went to high school. And, you know, she's kind of that hippie, it's going to be okay.
The question that I wrote down for you was about courage. When I was looking into you online and I was seeing how curious you were, right? You were so curious about cooking, curious about women's studies, curious about psychology, curious. And I mean, to me, curiosity is super powerful, right? Because when you have the courage to dive into novel experiences, it teaches you how to see the world in a different way, right? And it's even proven that curiosity keeps you healthy, like physically healthy. It decreases high blood pressure and diabetes. It reduces dementia. Like all of these things are really positive and related to curiosity. And so curious people, they're innovators. They frame failure as a positive thing. And so I was wondering where you got that from. And I see you got it from your mom. Your mom's she's not afraid at all to just have the faith to say, well, this is in front of us. We're going to go for this. And if it turns out to be something that we consider a mistake or a failure, all right, that doesn't matter. We'll learn to move on.
Right.
Where did she get it from?
That's a great question. And not to make this whole podcast about my mother, but she's so worthy of it, guys.
Mama Diamond.
She is so brave. I've always thought that. I mean, there's so many stories I could talk about. One that really comes to mind, and as I tell this, I'll try and think about where she gets it from. But she like took a trip to Florida when she was pregnant, and she was pretty deep in, and it was like for this big family wedding that was happening there. She went on this it was like a swimming pool, but kind of a whirlpool situation or whatever. And she knew immediately when she got in the water, something happened. And she went immediately to the hospital, and she had miscarried and had to get an abortion to, you know, make sure she didn't die. And the next day she went to the wedding. And I always found that a remarkable fact. I was like, why did you go to the wedding? How could you go to the wedding? I mean, not only were you in pain physically and emotionally, like, why'd you go? And she kind of was just like, not only did I feel really supported by these people that I was going to the wedding with, but I wasn't ashamed of it. She didn't feel shame about that part of her, you know, journey. And she was old at this point. She was 40. She had me when she was 41. She calls that baby Max. But it really was this like moment where she was like, no, like, if my body could not handle this, like, I'm going to go and like be loved at this wedding and feel the love from, you know, her husband at the time and the family there. And I always found that to be like such a example of who she is. Like, there's not the shame that comes with sometimes our failures. And I think she grew up in a time when the 60s and 70s, when like there was this kind of new rebellion against wars and queerness, like so many things. And she kind of took that and ran with it. She was one of like her only friends who got out of Massachusetts and New Hampshire and like went to California. She traveled the world in her 30s. She had a love affair with a woman. Like, there's so many kind of beautiful examples of her just like rebelling.
Embracing the present.
Yeah,
really embracing the present.
Forging her own path. Saying,
yeah, exactly. And I still kind of feel like I have that. She really did give that to me.
Wow. That's remarkable. And I need to learn that lesson from Mama Diamond, because I immediately started to cry when you told me about her life experience and the loss of a child and having to have that abortion to keep her healthy. But then her willingness and sort of open spirit to say, okay, but this is what tomorrow is. It's a healing for me. It's a celebration for this couple. It's a new beginning in different ways that maybe I didn't foresee, but I'm going to embrace. Sometimes you just have to start fresh and let it tell you what it's going to be.
It's funny that you say, like,
thing.
Sometimes you just have to let it, because I am the same way. I'm always like, what should I have taken from this experience?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she like doesn't ask herself that question as much as I do. And I think it's amazing. I think that her ability to just like
move forward.
Yeah. And it's funny, she like kind of made this like claim over the past few years. She used to always say the phrase, everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the past few years, she was like, okay, I don't think everything happens for a reason anymore. I don't think that's true. I think somewhere in me that is the essence of that statement is true. But with all of the kind of things that she was awakened to in the past few years, she was like, I just can't believe that anymore. Mm-hmm. But I think that, both of those things are true. Like you can experience something and be like, that was meant for me. And also be like, and it's unfair.
There's a quote that I just read. And again, I'm going to paraphrase, but it is, our greatest freedom is how we respond to what happens to us.
Yeah.
I think it boils down to expectations. When we pile too many expectations on an experience or a timeline, something that we want, how it's going to make us feel once we get it, all these expectations that we pile on things, that's where you go wrong. I feel like it's easier to learn to desire without expectation.
Just do the doing.
Just do the doing. Mm-hmm. And however it comes to you, it comes to you. Because if you label it, it diminishes what does come to you, because you're still looking for something else in the process, and you're not grateful for what just came.
Well, we can certainly, both she and I think, can certainly speak to the expectations of the CHER Show, how that looked very different than, and some of it was far better than what I ever imagined. And some of it was like shocking with how impressionable I was in ways that hurt me. Does that make sense? They weren't necessarily hurtful, but it just hit me in a place that happened to affect me at that time and date, and where I was in a real hurtful way. But after the CHER Show, I remember having a conversation with you, Mick, and you were like, much like when you were 13, I don't think this is for me. I don't think this is the life for me, right? And I am now going to learn culinary. I'm going to be creative and artistic through the culinary arts.
Yeah, it's so funny. So much time has passed since then. And I've been thinking back a lot to that time, because all of a sudden I've been so anxious the past few weeks because I'm starting again. And it feels like I'm diving into like a pool that I'm not sure I can still swim in. Oh, man, it was amazing. I would say like that's it. And it was impressionable too. I think that whole time in my life was like, not only was I like growing up very quickly, there was a lot of pressure on me, and I couldn't figure out if the relationship I had to myself, more specifically my body, was the relationship I wanted to have for the rest of my life. And
because of the pressures that show business puts on actors.
To be fair, the pressures that show business put on me, yes. The patriarchy, yes. And also myself. Mm-hmm. No one ever, just to put the record clear, no one ever said you need to lose weight. No one said that to me. Did I use the CHER Show as an excuse to be like, I'm going to be really small now? Yes. Did it just like take over 90% of my brain space? Yes. And I think it just caused me to have so much anxiety. And I remember about halfway through the run, probably like 3 or 4 months in, I was over it. I was like, I'm done. Like, this is so much work to keep my body this small. And like, I don't think I want to do that work anymore. I think there's more important work that I should do as a woman besides like do what everybody expects us to do. And I think my relationship to food in particular, because I did love to cook, was becoming strained in a way that I didn't want. And I would see older women, not really in our cast. They had like a beautiful kind of, they all had families and like lives of their own. But I did see other older women who thought the same way about it as me. And I was like, oh, no. I cannot be 40 years old thinking about it like I do now.
Right.
Like
have it consume so much of your space and energy.
Consumes, yes. Yeah. And so culinary school to me, I'm not sure at the time I consciously knew this all so articulately, but I think I really wanted to go to culinary school to break down the rules that I had about food, to like courageously be like, I am scared of food right now.
So let's unlearn. I'm going to go to school to unlearn.
Exactly. Wow. If I go every single day and have to eat 5 cuts of meat and pasta and pizza and figure out how to make dough and bread, and I'm gonna have to confront some of these fears and literally learn that if I have pizza, I will not blow up and forever blow up and blow up and blow up. Like, our bodies are meant to have food and
nutrients and food.
Yes.
Do you think that this conversation between and the relationship you had with food would have looked different if your debut was Seussical the Musical, but because you were going to be compared to this singular otherworldly type figure, as we know as Cher, that was informing what you had to do in the moment?
And not to mention the costumes.
Well,
the costumes were teeny tiny, right?
Yes,
so,
yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do you think that would have looked different, or do you think you still would have put those pressures on you because it was Micaela's Broadway debut and you wanted to enter the scene looking and appearing in a certain way?
No, I think it was the show and the costumes and her and looking at her tiny ass body for a year straight, doing research and stuff. I will say that I'm really glad it happened early in my life. I'm so glad I don't have to do that when I'm 28 and learn all of it then. Like, I have to say, like, I feel so, so lucky that I was able to be like, here is this thing. I don't like my relationship to my body. I'm going to go fix it. And now I have literally like so much more brain space to like be the human I actually want to become. And if that had happened later, I probably would have been even more thrown off. My identity would have been very confused, because at that time I was forming my identity anyway. So it didn't feel so crushing to me. So many of my friends in college were going through it in like such extreme ways. Watching them, unfortunately, the only reason I never fell off the, fully eating wagon, like I don't, how disordered do your thoughts have to be for you to have an eating disorder? I'm not sure. But the only reason I wouldn't say I ever became anorexic was because the only thing I loved more than my small body was acting, which is hard. But at the time it was true. Like, I knew that if I didn't eat, I wouldn't be present on stage. And so I kept eating despite wanting to be small. So, yes, I think it was because of Cher. Yes, my costumes were absolutely insane. And I just wanted to feel like I was acting my best. But we also were not doing a movie. We were not, like, musical theater is heightened. And I've had this argument with certain actors of like, do we have to transform into these people we're becoming? And unfortunately, we are just not being paid enough to like literally make our bodies as big or as small as the people we are playing. Like, it has nothing to do with it. It doesn't fucking matter.
We did Cher for well over 2 years. When you're thinking about the workshop and Chicago and Broadway, that is not sustainable. It is not healthy. And I will say, I don't know if I define it as a disorder, but there certainly was a relationship that caused friction in my life. I've always been one to look in the mirror and not necessarily be pleased with what I see. My voice inside was, you've got to be a mom. You have to have energy. you cannot do these things to yourself, because at that time I had a 4 and a 5, 3, 4, and 5-year-old watching me. And I refuse to inform her relationship with her body because of what she sees me doing with my body. But did everything change for me? Was I doing Pilates 3 times a week? Yes. Would I make sure that 2 out of my 3 meals were juices as opposed to actual food? Yes. Will I ever do that again? No. For my lifestyle, I could not subtract 3 hours a day from my family, my child, and the things that I truly enjoyed doing.
Well, it's really interesting because I just had the conversations very similar to this with Bonnie. Mulligan. She said something, it just stuck with me. It'll never leave my mind. She said, as women took power in their life and in the world, society demanded that we get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller to do so. Just a fascinating observation by her. And it rang really, really true to me. But then I look at Emma Thompson, who's out there right now going, there is not another day in my life that I'm going to feel bad about the way I look. I'm going to eat it if I want to eat it, as long as I'm healthy. I don't care. If you don't like the way I look, don't look. And I love her. Like, I just think she is taking aging and saying, I'm going to do it the way my body needs to do it in a healthy, happy way, period. And if you don't like it, I don't care.
I love her too. I think that also, Steph, like, you've known this for a long time, but I want to be a mom more than anything in the world, more than any award, more than anything. And so I knew that too, in a way. Like, that was my kind of battle. When I'm having a kid, I don't want ever her body to be informed by the way I treat food myself, or I'm scared of it, because then they will be. And I have to say that culinary school really did work for me. I felt madly in love with food, and I still am, and it has changed my life. I don't want to be a chef, but I do host supper clubs and invite all of my artist friends so we can have these kind of beautiful salons. And I've just made my world bigger. And I put brain space where I want to put it, instead of...
You took control of these feelings that were starting to spiral out of control. And you said, how can I control this? And you found a super healthy, curious way.
Right.
Your curiosity informed it and healed what could have been a really challenging time in your life.
Yeah.
She even created a love relationship with it. Do you happen to have one of your poems around that you could possibly share? When Micaela cooks, she also will create in words. Do you have anything that you feel comfortable sharing with our listeners?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I have literally hundreds on my phone.
No.
That's such a cool thing. That's
Micaela's
a book right there.
Coolest.
That is a cookbook, girl. It's a cookbook.
I have wanted to make a cookbook of poems and recipes for
so long.
It's and I want the subline to be coffee table cookbook, because it's so
I love it. I just love it.
Perfect.
Do you want me to read the first one I ever wrote? This was January 3rd, 2018. Oversalted. I tend to oversalt things. I've always thought this is because I cry so much and crave salt to come back into my bones, into my bloodstream. I'm scared some days of the sodium buildup, and other days I am not scared. I am hungry for the ocean, for the warmth of salted room temperature water coming out of my own being, for the feeling of that hard crying that makes little red dots appear around your eyes, so you have to look a little harder to recognize yourself the next morning, for the feeling of knowing that you'll fill back up one day and then cry some more. The comfort of cooking a roast chicken is this knowing, the knowing that you cannot oversalt a roast chicken. Every bone and piece of skin will be grateful. A roast chicken allows for plenty of time to cry. Allow it to soak in. Allow it to be room temperature before putting it in the oven, and then rest it well.
Oh my gosh.
Holy crap.
That's amazing.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, she's brilliant, not for her age. She is brilliant.
That's amazing. I used to teach yoga classes, and I used to talk about the connection between the earth and the body, our human bodies. And one of the ways that we're connected is in the second chakra, which is it's water. The element is water. And the same salt to water ratio that's found in a teardrop is found in a drop of ocean water.
Yeah, I love that.
Isn't that beautiful? I love that.
So good.
Micaela, can I ask you about your father? Is that okay to ask about?
Yeah, of course.
I know you talk a lot about how it was sort of you and your mom, against the world kind of thing. Where was your father figure in your life?
Well, it's funny, the early part of my life, my dad was by far like my favorite parent, all the things. And he was such a great dad when I was younger, so playful. And he's the theatrical one out of my parents. I think I get a lot of my like extroverted hosting kind of things from my dad. But my parents got a divorce when I was young. I was like 6 or 7 when they separated. And I did it every weekend at his place and then back to my mom's. And then when I moved to New York, he didn't come with, which I think my mom took that harder than me because my mom was like, what? She's just not going to have a father figure now close by. And I kind of was like, I understand though, because that's home, It's like, we're going to move here and he's going to stay there. But the kind of older I got, the harder it was to connect. When you get older, you figure out why your parents got a divorce in the first place, for one. And my dad is a gambler. And so I had a lot of resentment slowly build in this strange way because it wasn't happening now. He wasn't taking our family's money now, right? Mm-hmm. But the more I got older, the more I kind of understood what was happening back then. And I'd kind of ask desperately to understand it. Where does it come from? Why do you think you do this? Why are you ashamed of it? Mm. And he is not necessarily the most reflective, therapized person. I am that person who loves that kind of language. Mm. And I think the older I got, the more I was like, I don't necessarily think this is ever like the things I want from him are not necessarily going to come back my way. And that's okay. Like I can still appreciate him and love him, especially for my childhood. And he supports me and loves me so much and sees all my shows without there necessarily being this apology, perhaps is the word, is the simple word for it. But yeah, it's funny the way, I have made so many choices about him, about our relationship, and they confuse the shit out of me. And I've kind of given in to this feeling of not knowing what our relationship will look like in a few years or in 10 years or, when somebody passes, which is something I think about a lot. I will say, one of my favorite moments we've ever had. I don't even know if you remember this. I could cry thinking about it right now. We had just opened CHER, and I had the next day after we opened, I had my audition for a parade, which is crazy because that's come very full circle and now I am doing it. But that I had an audition and I pretty much sang the material and then left. And then they were like, okay, you're starting in a week. And I was like, oh my God, okay. I had just started 8 times a week and now I'm doing double duty. It was crazy. And then we started on a Tuesday, I think. And that on Sunday, the day before our day off, I went to you and I was like, my dad had a heart attack. Oh. And I was just like, I'm not close with my dad. So I didn't know how to feel about it. And he was okay. And his brother was with him, but I really was so confused. I was just like, do I go see him? I'm not going to call out. So I could go tomorrow, but then I don't want to get sick for parade. And this is such a huge week for me. And traveling on the freaking Greyhound bus is not going to be ideal for anything. And we were about to enter, I think, for a scene. I think we were at intermission and we were about to enter for the top of Act 2. And you were like, take a car, you scheduled a car for me to go all the way to Atlantic City Hospital and visit him, see him, and then take the car all the way back to New York. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's crazy. And you were like, it's already done, paid for, fine. You're getting in the car tomorrow morning. And I just almost wept. I couldn't believe it because I think you saw that I just I didn't know what to do. Yeah. I was so confused and my life blew up within that week. And I think, it's hard sometimes when you get the snapshot of your dream and it's oh, I almost forgot about my family. And you know, family's a tricky word. Like, I'm an only child. My mom and I are really my family. And of course he is literally a part of that. But in that moment, I was like, who do I want to give my time to? Who deserves to have my time? Who deserves for me to travel? It is a question, you know, it's always been a question for me. It's never been family first. It's been my mom and I first. Like, everyone else is a question mark. And I get to decide when I want to give them my time. And I had no idea what to do. And you just made the decision for me. And I will never be able to repay you for that moment. I really was so, so grateful.
Oh, thank you
I
for
almost
reminding
forgot
me
about
of that.
that.
As soon as you said it, I was like, I do remember it. I remember it clearly.
When you said the decision of how much of yourself other people deserve and earn.
Deserve. What a word.
That is a really interesting thing to hear coming out of someone so young.
Yeah.
It took me to get into my 50s before I realized the value of my energy. My energy holds value. And I had a relationship with someone who I was very close with for a long period of time, mostly in raising children together. But this person took a lot. And I just kept giving and giving and giving and giving, hoping to get the thing that I desired in return, which never really, truly came. And the relationship hasn't dissolved, but I've definitely put up boundaries and separated myself. And I remember going to bed and asking myself over and over and over, what role did I play in this? What do I need to learn? What do I need to learn? Because I didn't want to repeat it. And I woke up literally hearing a whisper in my ear, and it said, just because someone takes everything you give doesn't mean they received it with the value that you had intended. It was just free crap. It was just free. Who doesn't take free stuff?
That's right.
And I went, my energy is not free. It's not free. And that was a massive lesson. And I was in my 50s when I learned that lesson. So the fact that you seem to have a grip on that lesson in your 20s is remarkable and really, really powerful for you.
Seb crystallized something for me too. And he said, look, there are so many people that love you, Stephanie, and so few that know how to love you, because we all receive it differently. Like, I can look at people and go, my God, they do. They love me so much. And yet it's not the way in which you just said. I am able to actually see it, feel it, absorb it, because their way of loving is significantly different than the way I love, right? Love looks different to different people. So let's just take, I love you so much, but I vote this way. Well, then guess what? You're not loving me in the way I need you to love me, because you are showing your love by actively working against who I am, what I believe, and who I love.
Such tricky waters, though, because from their perspective, they're thinking the same way. And then all of a sudden it's us and them and you and against. It's so difficult.
But that word deserve holds that. When you said, who deserves my time, my energy, my love, that becomes very personal, and you can choose.
And you can still care for people who may not deserve your love. You can still wish them the very, very best. You cannot wish them harm or unhappiness.
Nope.
But they just don't get to have a piece of your energy.
That's right.
Access the way they once had the access. And that was very empowering to me when I finally internalize that in my life.
Do you feel you're able to be in this industry, Mick, and be able to do that?
God, that's a hard question. I think that part of what I'm learning a little bit is that sometimes it's not even about the piece you're working on. It's about the people that are in it. Like, that makes up so much of the experience. And if you can find a few people to be there for you, who kind of like give you more to give out, you know?
Right.
Because that's, I think, part of it, right? Is this like, who deserves it? Well, it's like, well, am I filled up enough to like decide? It's funny hearing you guys talk about it. The way I think about it is I'm thinking like myself. I say that all the time. It's like, it's this idea that we look at others and we're like, why aren't you doing that thing? Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking like myself. Of course, they're not doing it the way I would, because they're thinking like them.
They're thinking like them.
And that's like a less, political, that's just like a daily kind of thing is like, I'm thinking like myself and it's okay. And they can think like them. But I think when I'm in a process, I have to just be open to kind of let each moment mean something similar, like stakes wise, like having a date with my boyfriend can mean as much as our first preview if I let it.
Oh, beautiful.
You know that idea?
Yeah.
It's like, it's hard to articulate, but I think that's kind of how I'm going to try and enter this next round.
So you're managing the value of each interaction and each moment. Right. So why should this hold even more than a date with my boyfriend?
Yeah, exactly.
It's my choice to give it the value.
And it like may, like, of course, there are going to be moments that feel bigger than others. But I think if I hold them all at the same worthiness level, the anxiety I feel about the one that maybe is bigger than the date will actually start to come down. So that I can breathe and live my life.
Yeah.
But I'm scared. I mean, gosh, it's just like literally every time I'm like, do I remember? Am I going to be okay? Every day. I'm like, oh God.
Am I going to be okay? Well, that's a mighty big question. Mighty big question. All right. So we were talking about love. How do you define love, Micaela? What does love look like to you?
I think love is safety, feeling really safe. And I think love is equal parts making each other better people, making yourself a better person while knowing that you are exactly kind of where you're meant to be. It's funny that I explained it both in individual terms and in relationship terms. Like, I do think of love as such a deposit system in a, like, if I give love, I will receive some. But I also think there's something like bigger, like the other definition would be like the bigger version of love, like the love that I feel at City Center when we did parade and we like bowed for the first time. The room was love. Everyone's heart is open at the same time and vulnerable. And I think that's love to me too. That's why I host dinners, because like I love when people just let their hearts be open. That's love to me.
You mentioned you're about to embark on Parade, which is coming to Broadway, thrilling, in 2023. Do you visualize, or do you have a way of already protecting yourself from those really high highs and those really low lows? Because this is big, what's about to happen.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm like, what are some tools in my toolbox that I can like get to the top of them so I don't have to dig in the toolbox while it's happening when it's overwhelming? I know for myself there are like small things that will help me come back to myself. One being like cooking. That's like a big one. If I spend like 6 hours in the kitchen on my day off, I'm going to be like a new woman. I think another, unfortunately, is being really aware of my social media, consuming how much I'm consuming, because I think the more I hear the noise, whether it's good or bad, because it's inevitable that we will hear noise, and then you have to let it go out the other ear by the time you put your head on the pillow. And I think whether that's a kind of like 5-minute movement in stillness, like sitting like purposefully still and, letting the day kind of go, or if it's, turning my humidifier every night, like just the action can be like, okay, and now I'm going into sleep the next day, like small actions like that. Mm-hmm. These are all literally the things I've been thinking about just the past few days. There's something so beautiful about the beginning of something because you don't really know yet, and there's also this like really great feeling of we did it at City Center and it was really well received. And, whether that happens again on Broadway or not, like people will be moved and affected by this show. And I hold this like beautiful responsibility playing this role as like the heart of the story to like not only give my heart to the audience every night, but to like protect protect it for all the shows to come.
That's right.
I think it's really important and you're really good at that, Stephanie, like knowing when like you need to rest in order to like give again the right way. Right. And I think going into this round compared to Cher, like I just have less ego about the not calling out. Like I didn't ever call out and Cher. It's
No,
like
you did not.
And it was great. Like I did it. Like guys, I don't have to call out. Okay. Everybody knows. And now I'm like, I'm going to call out. Like I'm going to call out when I need to call out and I'm going to rest when I need to rest. And, you know, there's this thing that happened at City Center that really was telling for me, but I forgot the words to Do It Alone. I like messed up the verses. I like sang the second verse first and then had to find my way back onto the like pre-chorus thing. And I was like, you know, it's one of those like heart-wrenching moments. It's not like a fun mess up. It was like
we call it the white room.
fuck.
Everything goes
white
white and you lose your footing. You're like, you're just floating in this nothingness when
Horrible.
that happens. Oh.
And the white room for me either happens for two reasons. One, I'm zoning out because I'm bored. Or two, it's because I have dropped into the material so much that I am present to the point where I don't have the muscle memory yet.
You've lost yourself.
Fund the next line.
Yep.
And that's what happened when I did it at City Center. I think it was just the fourth show. I finally was feeling comfortable. So I dropped right into the material, felt more present than ever, and then went up. And I was so upset. I was so mad at myself. You know, literally Jason Robert Brown's behind me, like trying to tell me the word. You know, it's humiliating. It's, as an actor, there's just kind of nothing worse. And I remember being off stage and I was like, oh my God, I can see the choices in front of me. Like either I can be really upset for the rest of the show and after and be mad at myself, or I can be like, I dropped into the material. That's kind of beautiful too. I was able to like fully inhabit this woman who I've been trying to inhabit. Like this has been the goal. We had 10 days of rehearsal. Like, So what? You went up, you got back on, you know? And that kind of twofold to come to bring the conversation kind of full circle about my mom too. It's like that twofold of like failure. Yes, sucks. And it's so horrible. It makes you feel like shit and it gives you anxiety and it's not fun. But there is kind of always positive thing that comes from it. I was being
Lucille,
the best actor I could be in that moment. And that, unfortunately, for the audience and for my scene partner, who was probably nervous at that moment, is scary. And for me, but it's also beautiful. And like, if I can lean into some of these moments where like I feel pressure and don't live up to what I wanted to happen in my head every night or whatever. Expectation. I will be okay.
Yeah.
Do you meditate, Micaela? Because you seem like someone who does.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't really, I go through phases.
Yeah.
I haven't in a long time, but I do feel like my workouts a lot are kind of meditative. Like I try and be really present, think about what's coming up why am I upset now? Why am I annoyed that it's not over yet? You know, I just kind of, I do ask myself those kind of meditative questions a lot, but I am not in a phase right now of doing it every morning like I used to.
All right, we've arrived at the 5 questions.
Ever notice how ads always pop up at the worst moments? When the killer's identity is about to be revealed. During that perfect meditation flow. On Amazon Music, we believe in keeping you in the moment. That's why we've got millions of ad-free podcast episodes, so you can stay completely immersed in every story, every reveal, every breath. Download the Amazon Music app and start listening to your favorite podcasts ad-free, included with Prime.
If you were arrested, right, we call Mama Diamond, we're like, Micaela's in prison. What would she assume you have done to land yourself in jail?
Too many shrooms.
says the Cheshire Cat.
Oh,
Too many
my.
shrooms.
Now I know why you like cooking so much. Okay. I look forward to our dinner.
Love it.
All right. We walk into your closet. What is in there that you will never let go of?
This gorgeous suit, like full suit. But also, my second choice for this question would be Stephanie. I don't know if you remember this. Still have it in a box in my closet. I try it on maybe 5 times a year. It's this gorgeous, I think Armani.
Oh, it is. It's Armani
tube
Black Label.
top
Yeah.
with a zip, sparkles, gorgeous, fits me like a freaking glove, baby.
Oh,
and it was
man.
Stephanie's hand-me-down.
I used to back in the day. Oh my God. Yes, it's a gorgeous piece. It will soon become vintage, which will even make it more delicious. But she looks remarkable in it. And I couldn't even, I mean, it wouldn't fit around my thigh at this part of my life. Okay. If you could have a special power, worldly, otherworldly, what would that be?
I think to have like a crazy food palate tongue
Oh.
where like I can like taste
everything.
Like I could taste what butter is more expensive. Like I don't have that.
Ooh.
Do you know what I
Does
mean?
anybody
Yeah.
have that? Do people actually have
Yes.
that?
I mean, there are some
Oh.
chefs in the world who like have amazing tongues who like, that's why they're good. Cause they can like taste different combinations of food that are amazing that we would not think of normal muggles.
Wow. If you could go to any era, what would it be?
I think the 50s, maybe the Rodgers and Hammerstein era, I just would have been so good. I would have been a star.
Yes, you would have.
You already
Yeah,
But
are,
like
but
my
okay.
voice, like it sits right, like it's all low. There's no really belting. It's all like mixy and beautiful. And like the music was so cool.
Yeah.
It would have been good.
If you were nail polish color, what would it be? And what's the cheeky little name for that nail polish color?
Oh God, I wish I thought I had so much time for this because it's so good. I like think about the people who make these names for like nail polishes and lipsticks. And I'm like, I want to be you. I think I would do a light pink that's almost has some sheen to it. And I would call it Slippery Slope.
Yes, you would.
Oh, I like that.
So clever.
Is that good?
Yes. And now I'm thinking like of the 1950s sort of cute pink slip.
Nice.
Oh,
So
you're
good.
you're a wonder, Lucille. You're a wonder.
Before we let you go, there's something I want to share.
Okay.
So I just learned about this new book, and it's called The Exquisite Risk. And this doctor was talking about how he uses something from this book as a diagnostic tool when he's trying to figure out what's going on with someone. In the book, it says that there are a lot of Indigenous American tribes that would use this to help a member of their community when they couldn't figure out, what was going on with them. They would ask them 4 questions. When was the last time you sang? When was the last time you danced? When was the last time you told your story? And when was the last time you listened to another's?
Oh,
And I thought, we do 3 out of the 4 on this podcast almost every week, right? We do. We always sing a little something.
Yes.
We're always telling our own stories, and we're really listening to other stories. And the only thing that we don't do is dance.
Yes.
So I think we should dance it out, girls.
oh.
Can we dance it out?
Let's dance.
All right. So
Yeah.
right? I think we need to dance it out at the end of every show from
I
now
I
on.
think that's so great.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes. I love you all very, very much.
Micaela, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love
thank
you.
Thank you. Love.
And now here's what struck a chord with us.
So this human, I love her. I loved her from the second I met her because I truly have not been in a workspace or a rehearsal space No, that's a fib. The only other person, Anna Lee Ashford. I met her when she was 19 as well. And I stood back and went, whoa, how does this human have all this sort of awareness and yet still open for direction and flexible and playfulness and takes all the notes, is consistent with every performance? There was a maturity there. I learned from Micaela on the daily.
You know what I loved? I loved how she is so self-aware that she saw something unhealthy heading down the pike and took complete control of it in a super creative and open way and started cooking classes and then writing poetry about her cooking. And it makes me want to go study cooking and like start to love it the way she really loves it. And it becomes this thing you share with people and like a communal gathering sort of thing. I don't know.
But to invite it into her life when it was something that she deemed as, I'm taking some liberties, but she deemed as the enemy. The idea of food is causing me harm.
Yeah.
So now I am going to immerse myself in it to understand all of the intricacies about food.
Take whatever little control I can take.
Gosh.
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes those fears creep up on us and take over without us being understanding that they're taking over. And then all of a sudden it becomes like a quirk or a trait. It takes a lot of self-awareness to catch it at a very early stage like she did and turn it into something so positive.
I agree.
That's a lot of self-awareness.
When I recognized in Micaela not only going to school, to culinary school, but then to write poetry about it.
I know.
To almost lift it up to an artistic form.
Fun.
That again, that is another step where you're like, who are you? Yeah. Where did you come from? I am always surprised by her. And I wish I wasn't. I should just be ready for whatever she tells me to shock me and to make me feel like, well, of course you did that. Of course you went to Greece and helped, marginalized communities build homes, which she has. Of course you traveled half the world just to taste different spices. And of course you have, and this is something, again, you would think you're talking to your Nana who's 96. And yet it's this vibrant, gorgeous 22-year-old.
She's going to be
a light force. Oh, she
already is a force. But you know how women sort of come into themselves a little later in life, So imagine Micaela when she's in that stage of life. She's going to rule the world.
The ripples that she's creating and the impression that she makes in every room she is causing a bit of a seismic shift on Broadway. Because I can speak to, the pressures of leading a show, and it's not an easy thing to shoulder. Even if you are a very cool cucumber, it affects your adrenals. It affects you physically and mentally and spiritually.
Is it because you always have to be strong and up and out there?
Yeah, you certainly set the tone for any room that you're in. You feel a responsibility with how successful the show might be received. I take on a mama hen. I want to make sure that the dynamics backstage are just as copacetic as what we're doing on the stage.
And so that's exhausting. So
it is exhausting.
You're home being a wife and a mother, then you're at work being a mama hen.
It is exhausting.
And then you're giving the energy on stage as well as backstage. So you're just wiped out by the end.
Yes. But that is part of, taking one of the final bows, is also understanding that there is a relationship going on with all different walks of life. And it's a really huge family.
Wow.
And sometimes you see these younger people that don't quite know how to take all that on, because it's just part of the fabric of saying yes to a particular role or a particular project. It all comes with it. And you don't know until you know. Mm-hmm. And here is a young, I think an old spirit, but a young new body that knows already. And so that's when I go, where did you come from? Yeah. How do you know this?
Yeah.
Why
do you know it?
Why?
And it's going to be glorious to hear her sing
forget
those songs with Ben Platt the quality of his voice and that vibrato that he has mixed with hers is going to be incredible.
I know. They're going to blow the roof off, and they're going to blow the emotional roof off. So beautiful.
All right, my friend. I love you.
I love you. Goodbye.
Stages podcast is produced and edited by me, Mary Lee Fairbanks, and Stephanie J. Block. Thank you to Allison Arns, our booking agent, Brock Grenfeld, our sound engineer, and Tina Wargo, our social media manager. Original music by Noah Kaiserman and Garrett Healy.
Thank you for subscribing, following, rating, and telling others about this very special podcast. And we'll see you soon.